The Packers season is unfortunately over, and we have to watch the Chiefs and Eagles battle it out on Sunday in the big game. But we've got some bonus content for you. A movie released last weekend called Green and Gold, and you can hear my impressions coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast. What's up, Packers faithful? This is Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast. It is just me for this bonus content episode of Packers Fan Podcast. I was invited by Aaron Peterson over at the Hollywood Outsider to review and preview a movie called Green and Gold, which is very, very much Packers themed. And I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to hear that review. This is actually a snippet from the Hollywood Outsider podcast. I recorded this review with Aaron Peterson, super fan Aaron Peterson, and I thought you guys might check it out because this movie is definitely worth a watch, especially if you're a Packers fan. I'm going to go ahead and play that review for you right now.
Okay, I'm here with Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider and Packers Fan Podcast. How you doing, Scotty?
I'm doing all right, man. A long time no, I can't say see, but long time no recording
podcast.
A show together.
Yeah, are you excited about doing this?
Absolutely, dude. Anytime I get to sit down and chat with you guys again, it's always a pleasure.
And you're going to put this in Packers Fan Podcast too, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah, so if you were hearing this, you're either hearing this through the Hollywood Outsider or Packers Fan Podcast. So hello to everybody.
Yeah, hello. I'm Aaron with the Hollywood Outsider, if you don't know who I am. So we were
Super fan Aaron, as you're known on Packers Fan Podcast.
There we go. I didn't know I was a super fan. I'm just a regular fan who doesn't blame the refs. Yeah, that's right. There were one of those. So we got to see this early. Unfortunately, we got to record it after the release, but it's in theaters at the time of this recording. It's still in theaters, limited release. And before we get into the movie, I got to ask you, are you surprised? I just don't get why you would wait until after the season to release this.
I don't know. Maybe they were banking on Green Bay making it.
Hell of a gamble.
That is quite a gamble.
Hell of a gamble.
I guess the thought is if they don't make it, then Packers fans have something to look forward to. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
Besides the Super Bowl.
Sure.
I mean, we all watch the Super Bowl, even if our team's not in it, right?
I guess that's part of it, right? And
yeah. I
like that this is produced by Culver's. You get great product placement.
There's like Culver's containers on the dash of the truck. That's
very
great.
direct. The best part, before we get into the details, my favorite part about the movie is I expected it to kind of be a lot of product placement, and it just ended up being a really good movie. Just like a really good movie. It
was, even though the theme is Green Bay Packers, and if you're a Packers fan, I do recommend you check it out just because you'll see a lot of things you do, but it's not the main crux of the movie. It's more of a I'm not going to say afterthought, but it's just like part of the setup, if that makes sense.
It's a family drama. I mean, it's really like targeted toward people that
we should
appreciate
give the title of the movie.
Well, yeah, Green and Gold. That's what we're talking about. It's people. It's a movie that appreciates community, right? It appreciates farmers and small town communities and you're appreciating your neighbor, that sort of thing. Like it's a real down home way we grew up kind of community film.
Very familiar for me. I think at one point I had to explain to you what it meant for deer to be in rut season.
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant. When they're in a rut, usually it means they hit my car.
Yeah,
that's jetting down the highway.
That happens as well too. They're just going after a different piece of tail light.
Jesus Christ. I'll line them up, you knock them down. All right, well, so Green and Gold, so you know what this is about, is Craig T. Nelson stars as Buck. He's an aging Wisconsin farmer with dreams of his family's land falling to his next in line, his granddaughter, Jenny, who's played by Madison Lawler. He's devoted, he's hardworking, and he's a diehard Packers fan, like I assume everyone that listens to your podcast, right?
Yes.
It'd be weird if they didn't like the team, right? They're just
You'd be surprised. We have some
listening.
non-Packers fans listening.
Well, good, because this movie will appeal to them. All right. There's some football talk, sure, but I think even if you're a Bears fan and you hate the Packers, you still will
Although
like it.
There is a really great scene where Buck confronts a Bears fan that made me want to stand up and cheer. Just a little bit.
True. Well, because you see Bears fans a certain way, right?
Right. Yeah.
I understand. I have a lot of Bears fans in my family, so I'm kind of split down the middle. I have to accept both sides. Pretty clean. But he's like a real Buck is a diehard Packers fan. He named his cattle after the 68 championship team. Names his pig after Ditka. That's funny. Meanwhile, Jenny is very unsure if this land is her future because Buck sees her as, taking over. And her mother had died. His daughter had died previously. And he sees her as the future. But she's really interested in a music career. She wants to be a singer. She kind of moonlights singing on when she can.
Singer-songwriter.
Yeah, singer-songwriter when she's not working on a farm. Absolutely. But Buck is a stubborn Midwesterner. He sees legacy as the most important aspect of family. Jenny wants the world to hear her voice. Well, Buck's already lost his daughter, as I talked about. And it's 1993. Buck has not modernized his farm. His farm is losing money left and right. The bank is going to take it from him. So there's a back and forth between the bank, and Jenny motivates him to take a crazy random deal that a guy just kind of throws out in the ether, where that if the Packers win the Super Bowl, the bank will give him a whole another year to pay with no interest. But if they lose, they lose or they don't go to the Super Bowl, he has to pay it off the next day. That's the deal. And it's an insane development, but Packers fans, they believe in Titletown. So he takes it, and that's the crux of the movie, but really it's about family and saving a farm. What do you see it as? Like, what kind of movie do you see this as?
I mean, I see it as a movie that actually centers more around Jenny than it does Buck.
Very much.
With Craig T. Nelson's name on the bill, I kind of expected him to be the main character, and he is a prominent figure. But this is really Jenny's story, and it's really fun to see her go from farm girl to attempted singer-songwriter, and she kind of flips the script every now and then, and it's all about the drama between her and Buck, and between her and the other farmhand, and her and this already established musician that she's trying to get in good with, but I think the core theme here is what you already said, which is community, which Packers fans know that the Green Bay Packers are one of the only team that's like owned by the city of Green Bay, right? It's a very community-driven football team, so it slides very well into this whole theme of family and community, and I think one of the other themes that's really present here, you and I kind of had a conversation while we were watching it, is Buck's stubbornness, because he very much wants he wants Jenny to carry on his legacy of this farm the way that he does it. He doesn't want to do it the newfangled ways and all this. And there's a really tense moment between the two of them where you kind of see both sides, but you also see that he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah. I kept saying, I'm like, well, Buck's a dick,
But it's not so much that he is just a hard-headed old-timer that is just set in his ways. His intentions for wanting things to live on the way that they are actually is pure in intent.
Yes, it is.
It's more about keeping, the land fertile and doing right by the land, as opposed to this is something that I created. If that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I think that it's a very interesting dynamic because you can see that there's friction between these two. Obviously, it's a tale as old as time, right? Old versus new. Mm-hmm. People are stuck in their ways, and the new generation wants to find a different way. It's hard when you're older, so I'm starting to realize, to let go of things that you have set in your own ways, right? Like to look at the younger generation and go, okay, maybe your way is better. Maybe I should just try it your way. It's difficult to give up something you know.
Yeah, our way is definitely Sigma.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do also love, because I found this with my own kids, right? Where Buck, he changes in terms of how he represents himself and how he acts when he's with Jenny, when football's involved, because that's a connective tissue that he doesn't have otherwise. And he's able to kind of let go of his own personal, because that we're just celebrating a sport. We're all watching the same sport, the same way, played the same way. And I love that aspect of the movie because it kind of really illustrates why football is so important to fans.
Yes. I mean, I actually related very much to the numerous scenes where they're sitting in church and looking at their watches going, kickoff's going to be in 15 minutes. We got to go, which was, compounded when this bet was made. And they actually had a real skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Both he and Jenny get up in the middle of a service to go to make sure that they watch the game, which, I grew up with that, man.
Been there.
Because,
Yeah.
Church was at 10 o'clock, and then you have a mother that wants to sit and talk and gab, and it's still a half-hour drive home. You want to see kickoff, when you're a kid. So I felt that pain.
Grandfather was the pastor, and he was the same way. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just like, well, it's time to go. You got to get home before kickoff.
Exactly.
That's just a Midwestern staple. I'm sure it's a staple in many football towns, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that element of it, that's probably the only thing where I would say that's football-y, but I think that could appeal to people in a lot of different ways. But anytime you have a shared hobby, right, with your mom, dad, kids, whatever it is, it's the same element. It's just that sense of bringing you together to kind of put that whatever has you at odds, bring you in the same room and have a great time.
Exactly. Yeah. Finding that common bond, that thing that you're both into. And that happened even before the bet. She still watched the games with him, and it was more important to her because it was important to him. You know what I mean? She definitely got more invested later on, but it was still, that's what we do on Sundays, is we watch the Packers.
Yep. Absolutely. So what did you think, when you come into respect with the performances, right? You talk about Craig T. Nelson. Let's talk about him first. He's the name on the marquee. Being a football movie, I thought he might be the coach. Huh? You're welcome. Nobody? Anybody? I had silence. But he's actually a supporting role, like you said. Like, it's really Jenny who's the lead. So do you still think he shines through as Craig T. Nelson, or does he feel like he's relegated to the background? How did you see it?
He still shines to me, but not doesn't overshadow anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, he is not just a fixture. He's a very important part of this story. It's just not his story, even though it kind of is. It's more Jenny's story and how she reacts to everything. I don't. It's hard for me to say how much range he had with Buck, because he felt very much like Craig T. Nelson. You know what I mean? Like kind of a coach with less sense of humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How about you?
I wouldn't say impressed, because I've always liked Craig T. Nelson. He's kind of, I all the way back to Action Jackson days. Like, I've been a fan of his for a long time. I like him. I think he elevates everything. But I was surprised kind of how small his role was in comparison, but I wasn't upset about it. I actually really liked the performance with Madison Lawler, which I'm going to just segue it to her. So she has this whole arc where she's trying to become a singer-songwriter, and she's kind of working with this artist, producer, aspiring star who's played by Brandon Sklenar, who was on 1923 Yellowstone. He was on It Ends With Us. So his career is kind of burgeoning, and he does what he always does, which is smolders in the corner, but this time he's playing songs. What did you? His role is very small. What did you think about her performance? Because, as we said, she's the lead. She's the star of the movie.
I absolutely loved her. She had such a range in this film, and I'm not familiar with her at all. Have you seen her in anything else?
I was not familiar with her. No.
Okay. I mean, she plays the tough and tumble farm girl to a T, and you think that's just who she is, and then she goes and she meets Billy, Brendan Sklenar's character, and she's vulnerable as hell. Mm-hmm. She's fumbling at words. She's nervous, and not because, it's a hot guy that I want to get with. It's that she's trying to impress, and she wants to make a good impression so that she can start her music career. And seeing her go back and forth between that and then dealing with Aaron, mm-hmm. the farmhand, that there's like almost a love. It's not really a love triangle, because she's not really interested in Billy.
No,
right?
she's not. No,
but
she's not.
But Aaron is definitely threatened by him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's definitely a little bit of that. She impressed the hell out of me too. I mean, like I said, I was surprised she was the lead. Once I realized that she is the lead, I'm like, okay, this is much better than I expected. Following her, seeing someone young dealing with a farm. I grew up. My aunt had a farm when I was growing up, so I have some experience with farms. I didn't know what Deers and Heat was called or anything, but she didn't have any. So, but I was on a farm pretty frequently, and I remember what that was like. There's elements of it that are pretty cool, but the chores are a bitch, and kind of all of that goes hand in hand, and it shows her growing as the film matures as well, in terms of, oh, this is so much more than I thought it was. Like, this land means so much more to me, my family, and my future than I really expected. I'm so focused on getting out of here, right? The young person thing to do, which is what most young people want to do, is get the hell out away from wherever they are.
But she still upholds her responsibilities.
She does. Yeah, she does. She's not like a brat. It's not that kind of character. Mm-hmm. I really appreciated her performance a lot.
Yeah. She is one of the main reasons to see this film. And I mentioned it while we were watching it. I got Julianne Moore vibes a little bit watching her. Yeah. Not just because of the hair color. That's an easy thing to say, but even the mannerisms and the way she carried herself, just and the going back and forth between very confident and vulnerable within a span of 15 minutes. Julianne Moore is very good at doing that too in the films I've seen her in. So I really liked her a lot. And also I want to mention, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Annabelle Armour. Am I saying that right?
Yes, Margaret.
This is Buck's wife. The two of them together made a really cute couple. Like,
the Grammy you love, right? She's the Grammy you love. You just
right.
Well, you also. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And not that you like to see old people make out, but when they're kissing each other, it felt real.
Oh, there's a lot of slobber. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's there's moisture all over their faces. Yeah, it's weird, very creepy. It's like they took the teeth out and just went for it. Sorry. Kid. You gotta mention Charlie Berens, right?
Yes. Packers fans are very familiar with Charlie Berens, and he was actually a small highlight in this film for me because I'm so used to seeing him do those goofy stand-up comedy or YouTube videos where he's very silly, and he plays.
Explain those for people that aren't Packer fans, so they know what he does.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking to the Packers fan audience, but he makes these very silly videos where he has that Midwestern Minnesota, Northern Wisconsin accent, and he acts kind of silly and goofy and puts himself in this and in these situations where he confronts Bears fans, and he's just very, very slapsticky and very goofy. But in this, he plays like the radio announcer for the games.
Yes.
For like a local radio station. And you never see the silliness, which is I was kind of expecting. I mean, he cracks some just radio style jokes, but you actually see a lot of heart in him. There's a moment that I won't spoil where you get some emotion out of him that I was totally not expecting, and it really got to me for a couple, just because I know who he is, and I'm like, damn, we just saw this from Charlie Berens. Now, it wasn't like a Oscar-worthy performance or anything, but it was just fun to see.
Yeah, it's very good. When people are doing TikTok videos, I know some people like kind of write those guys off. Mm-hmm. As well, I mean, how hard could that be? A lot of that is hard. I've seen his videos. He puts a lot of work and effort into them, and he's creating a character, right? He's creating just like any other performance. Here, he gets to do that too. And yeah, the scene you're talking about, he actually has a very emotional scene where he looks like someone who is emotive. He's very involved in what's happening in the scene. Yeah, I really enjoyed him too, and I honestly didn't care if he was there or not. I wasn't somebody who was like, "Oh, Charlie Berens there." It wasn't like that for me. I was just a happy coincidence.
Yeah.
Hopefully he hears this. I hope, Charlie, if you hear this, because maybe you listen to Packer Fan Podcast, because by God, you're devoted.
And we'd love to have you as a guest on the show. Just saying.
You would love to. We better tag him in the socials, man. Maybe you'll see.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, got to. He did a great job. Sincerely,
yeah,
he did a great job. Okay, well, that kind of brings me to the conclusion of the review. And again, I just want to stress, like, this is not really about football. It is about community, and those that support the game. It has a lot of good community football aspects to it, but really it's just about family and neighbors and that selfless devotion to a world uncentered on oneself, like real selflessness, which is a big Midwestern trait as far as I'm concerned. I've lived with it my whole life. I love it. And kind of explains why those things are important to us, I would say, and had great performances by me.
Yeah, don't go into this expecting a lot of football footage. You do get some. You know what I mean? There's going to be some old shots of games wins and losses and,
Sure.
and special moments and that kind of thing. But it's not a football forward movie. It is more about the drama. But still, if you're a Packers fan, you're definitely going to want to check it out. Even if you're not, though, I think this is very much worth a watch. It has some unexpected moments. It has lots of levity. It has lots of heart. I guess levity is not the right word. There are some moments that make you smile, but not laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just a lot of emotion involved in. There's a whole theme kind of going in and out throughout the movie, revolving around a Joni Mitchell song that I actually had to look up. That is kind of fun, and the way that whole thing wraps up is just really great. It all ties together in a neat little bow that just makes you smile. Agreed.
This is a really good time at the movie. So we go by, if $10 is the full price of admission, what's your score? Basically, out of 10, what's your score for Green and Gold?
I'm going to give it $7.
Okay.
I think it's a very worthwhile film. I always struggle giving a score a 7 because I feel like that's just like the middle of the road, but I really enjoyed it. I just don't know how much rewatchability I'll get. This is one of those movies that I will rewatch just to watch somebody else see it.
Sure.
Like my wife hasn't seen this yet, and I can't wait to get a copy of this so that we can watch it together because I think she'll really appreciate it, and I love seeing somebody else enjoy it. But on my own, it's not one I'm going to watch, but it's still really, really good.
Yeah,
How about you?
really enjoyed it. I give it 650. That's a good score for me. Like that's a good score. It's just, it's a movie that I agree, you might not rewatch it 100 times. It's not one of those, it's not Anchorman, for crying out loud. But
I love how you say that's the bar.
That's my bar. That's my watchability bar. No, but it's a really good film, and I was really happy with it. I was very surprised it was as good as it was. You just never know when you get a screener which way it's going to go sometimes. And this was a very good film. I was very happy with how it turned out. And even if you're a Bears fan or a Vikings fan or a Lions fan, I mean, I think you'll still enjoy it because it's really not about the Packers. I mean, just pretend it's your team if you want, but you just know in your heart it's not, and it never will be.
Yeah. And this is based on a true story, is it not?
The Packers are better. Yeah, it is. It is inspired by a true story, which is another great podcast if you've never heard that one.
I have heard it. Listen every week, man.
Yeah, there's a guy at the beginning of that Inspired by a True Story podcast. Sounds a lot like you.
Please be warned.
He's that guy. He's the warning guy. All right. Well, everybody that's listening on the Hollywood Outsider, you go to thehollywoodoutsiders.com. If you're not part of the show, that's where you can find the Hollywood Outsider and Inspired by a True Story podcast. Scott, but for my listeners, where do people find you?
I've got 2 podcasts myself, Packers Fan Podcast. You can listen to that wherever you listen to podcasts. We've also got a website, PackersFanPodcast.com. And I also do a video game podcast called The Gaming Outsider. Same place, same places for the show. And our website is TheGamingOutsider.com. Would love it if you guys checked it out. If you'd like to follow me on socials, I am at GoCastScott.
Okay, and if you Packer fans are listening, tag Charlie Barons, right?
Please do.
Tell him Scott really wants to get this guy on his show. He'd love
I would love that so much. I would love to just talk with that guy.
That's funny. And I'm going to go watch a few of his videos because he does make me laugh. All right. Thanks for joining me, Scott.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me. And there you have it. Thank you very much to Mr. Aaron Peterson for allowing me to take part in that review. I hope you guys do check out that movie. I think it's only in theaters right now, but if you go to the theater to check it out, it's awesome. Or whenever it does come to streaming, you will want to check it out. Really, really enjoyed it. Was kind of surprised by what it was. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully, we'll have some more bonus content for you guys as we head into the off season. And enjoy the Super Bowl. Go Eagles. Yeah, I said it. Catch you guys next time.
Go Pack, go!
Go Pack, go!
Go Pack, go! Go, 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 Pack, go!